Hello beautiful, welcome back to my channel and welcome to this video where we are going to try out the Natasha Denona Pastel Palette. I just got it in the mail. I'm super excited. We're going to try it out. I'm going to do two different looks and I'm also going to compare it to this one. This is the BH Cosmetics Lost in Los Angeles, which is my current favorite pastel palette. This is a drugstore priced palette. This is the one that I usually recommend when I'm recommending like a pastel palette. So I'm going to compare them. Let's see if they're like comparable to each other, and I'm just excited, so let's jump into it. And if you want to see some more makeup content on your timeline, don't forget to subscribe because I upload 5 videos a week, sometimes 6, sometimes 7. It had happened that it had been 8, but normally around 5. And yes, I am actually not wearing any extensions today. Can you tell how long my hair is? I do need to go and get a haircut though, but this is how my hair looks. Basically like straight out of the shower, just letting it dry. I have incredibly straight hair, like pin straight hair, and I don't hate it. I was feeling like I was gonna sport this today. I just got this palette in the mail. I bought this myself from the Natasha Denona website. She did have a pre-sale up. First, the pre-sale said, like, my shipping said that it was gonna be delivered on the 11th, and I was like, oh, thank you. And then they changed it to the 15th, like the other peasants. Or is it 14th? I'm not 100% sure. Whatever day today is, I don't even know, but this palette is available now. I will link it down below in case you are interested. This is one of her $65 palettes. It's the Midi palette. I am super intrigued to be like showing you this palette, and I will say I always recommend the Lost in Los Angeles by BH Cosmetics when I recommend a palette from like a pastel palette, because I feel like if you are a lover of makeup, if you're a lover of eyeshadow, it's always nice to have a pastel palette. Do I recommend you to have a zillion different pastel palettes if you're not like me, like working with makeup? Because that's what I do. I do a job here, like this is my profession. Not really. I do recommend you to have a pastel palette though if you are into eyeshadow, because a pastel palette can be the perfect companion palette, and so far this has been the one that I've been recommending, the Lost in Los Angeles by BH Cosmetics. This is a really nice pastel palette, and what is nice with this one, and I'm going to show these side by side, what's really nice with the Lost in Los Angeles one, not only it is a great formula, that is a pigmented formula that you can build on top of, so you can use these as lid shades, you can use these as transition shades, but these are also not like a milky pastel, so they do work on a slightly deeper skin tone as well. You don't have to be pasty to make them work. I will say though that from past experiences, Natasha Denona does do pastel shades really good because she has had 1 or 2 sprinkled into different palettes. Me personally, I get along with the Natasha Denona quality really good, and that's the reason why I review basically everything that the brand is releasing, and that is that this is a formula that works really good for me. So I will say, just straight out of the bat, I think that there are not necessarily any dupes between these palettes, but they do have a similar vibe to them. And if you are a person that's just casually wearing pastels now and then, like me, sometimes as an inner corner shade, sometimes as a lid shade, sometimes as a transition shade. If you're not the type of person that does all pastel looks, if you already own a pastel palette, I don't know that I would recommend you to own more than 1 pastel palette. I like having them as comparisons, so for me it makes sense, but I feel like if you don't want to buy a pastel palette at this price tag, do get the Lost in Los Angeles. I will link that one down below as well. And I also bought, when I made my order, I bought 2 more of the eyeshadow bases from Natasha Denona, which is one of my favorite eyeshadow bases, and I've told you that I kind of lost some eyeshadow bases. I actually found some of them now. I don't know what I was doing when I was packing. I was stressed, but I bought it in both. I think I bought it in light and medium. Yes. So I'm gonna use the light one when I do the looks. So I will do 2 looks. As you can tell, I don't have any makeup on. I'm actually heading out for a bit of a coffee meeting after this. So I'm gonna do my makeup. I'm gonna use this eye base, which I already know that I love. And after the coffee break, I'll come back and I'll do a second look. And then we can have some initial thoughts at the end of the video of how I feel about the palette. But let's jump in. And if you're wondering about anything else that's on my face, all the info is always in the description box. For this first look, I'm gonna use this shadow here that's called Bora, and it's the dark purple here, because that one is, I mean, is it a dark purple? Not really, but it is the darkest shadow in this palette. Is that a cream? That is a cream to powder. Okay, so that's gonna be interesting, and just see what kind of depth you can get with this shadow. Oh, I think I picked up too much, got a little fallout, because I want to see, like, for me, I usually don't go for all pastel looks. I'm gonna do an all pastel look, like a really, I'm guessing like mint, blues. I'll go all in. But I thought for this first one, I want to see, like, if I do this look or use this palette like I usually do looks, like how I usually construct looks, which is around something dark in the outer corner to lift my eyes because they are a little bit downturned here. Like, how is this palette gonna react? Because I think for me, this palette is, regardless of quality, it is gonna be a companion palette for me. Because I love pastels as companion palette. Like, pastels make the best companion palettes. But, like, how often am I gonna wear it on its own? That's what this shadow is gonna determine, I guess. And like I said, this is Natasha Denona's normal cream to powder formula, and I think it performs like her normal cream to powder formula too, which means that you can work it in like you would a cream shadow, but you don't need to use a sponge tip applicator or like your finger or anything like that. You can definitely use a brush, and you can also blend the powders on top of these, and you can even blend these on top of powders. They're very versatile shadows that are perfect for actually deepening up things as well. So that could be good to keep in mind as well. I really do like that. Okay, let's try, for the sake of this look, let's try a little bit of this that's called Feather, which is a very, it's like a pastel-y lilac-y pink. Does that make sense? And I'm grabbing some of that on a small Refer brush. This is a Refer 26. It's like a pencil brush if it was like fatter and had a little bit of, you can see that it's tapered. Yeah, here you can see. So it's really good for just buffing edges or like really getting color in there. So I love buffing edges with like these kind of fat pencil brushes. So I'm just using some of this like color here, and I am gonna pack that as well. Oh my god. This is what happens with my little fold. Let's try and not set the crease, shall we? This one is definitely a true pastel. It is incredibly light. Even on me, it is very, very, very light. So this is more of a very light transition color on me. This is probably a perfect inner corner shade for me. I love a matte inner corner. If you have not yet, after watching my videos, tried a matte inner corner, this is your sign. This is your sign to go. Try a matte inner corner, and especially like really light white base, almost chalky pastels. They're so beautiful for inner corner highlights and for matte lid colors. Those together though, really, really nice. Okay, so this is where I'm at right now, and I think that this purple is the darkest color in the palette, and this is probably as deep as I can go with it. I feel like it's okay for me today because I still will have the contrast between the very light to the somewhat like mid-tone purple. But all in all, this is a pretty light palette with a mid-tone purple. It just looks darker because it's, well, it's together with pastels. I will say also, I wasn't able to build it up to the intensity that it is in the pan, so I feel like this is more of a mid-tone purple. We're gonna use the one that's called Illusion, which is this white-based pink duochrome here. I think it is a pink duochrome. I haven't swatched this as I'm filming this. I haven't swatched it because, like I said, I am heading out. But I'm gonna spray this because I can tell that it is like a duochrome with a white or a transparent base, and those usually need something to show up better. That's a very smooth iridescent reddish pink. I think it doesn't show up as pink on camera as it does in real life. It's actually a really nice like reddish fuchsia pink iridescent duochrome shadow. That's really nice, and I bet that if I had put the purple all over and put this on top, it would have like pulled even more purple. I feel like this is a really nice, now you can see the contrast. I feel like this is a really nice colorful but still somewhat everyday look, and I guess that is what like pastels bring to the table, that your looks are not too clownish because it never ends up being too deep or too dark. Okay, I think the look is done. I mean, I like it. I like the look a lot. But here's the thing. It isn't as dark as I thought it was gonna be. Like, how easy would it be for me to just go in and layer another shadow on top of this purple? Super easy, especially since it is a cream to powder. But I think you're gonna have to really love pastels if you're gonna buy this palette, because pastels is the only way you're going, let's be honest. But yeah, I like it. I am heading out for coffee. I'll be back for you in 2 seconds to do look number 2. It is several hours later. I have been out and about. I've been sitting outside. I've been crying a little bit because I do have allergies and I don't have my allergy medicine. So if my foundation is looking a little crooked, it's been through some things today. So let's do look number 2, and I want to play with the blue and the green. I swatched some of these shades now. I really want to play with this one that's called Adriatic, the Adriatic Sea. So I think we're gonna do this one. It is a cream to powder, and we're gonna work with this one that is a powder, and it is the Airy, which is a light blue, and Bubble, which is the cream to powder, like a periwinkle, like a deeper periwinkle. I think we're gonna start with those and use the mint on top, and then I want to use the Zest, which is the lime green, and the Limoncello, which is the yellow on the lower lash line. Is that one from that old palette that she did? What was that called? She had a Limoncello in a palette that was discontinued. You know which one, right? I don't own it. I only own the mini. Tropic one, right? It had Limoncello. Have I been dreaming? Okay, a little bit more eye primer, and then let's start with the blues. Oh, this is a very pastel blue. Well, I guess this is really a true pastel palette. Okay, let's go in with a little bit of the Airy shade, which is the pastel blue powder shadow, and I'm just gonna blend a little bit on the edge. I feel like I was able to get a really nice blend with just the cream to powder on its own. To be fair, I don't think I even needed this Airy to make this look stand out. I guess I could have layered it on top to make it a little bit more saturated. Maybe that is like, maybe that's the trick. Let's see what happens if I go in with the Airy shade on top of this. Because these cream to powder, they really do like build, and you can layer on top of them. Yeah, that did make the blue pop even more. So it's maybe more about layering than blending out. Good to know. So now I'm just putting the powder shadow on top of the cream to powder. Oh, that is nice. I'm just playing around a little bit. Just seeing what I can create. So as like an initial reaction, or like maybe like a second impression, that is what this is. I would say that these like cream to powders, they work as a really good base for the pastels to make them even more opaque and to pop even more. So that was a really interesting take. So I want to use this minty green here now. I didn't spray this one because I felt like my primer hasn't even like dried down properly, so I could probably just use that as a somewhat moist base, but that is really pretty together. I love the light blue and like the mint together. Let's do the Zest, which is the lime. I want to see how that one looks on the lower lash line. Yeah, that is definitely a little bit more, I don't want to say sheer, but not super opaque. So let's do the Limoncello on top of it. I like the inner half, maybe. Ooh, that is a beautiful shade. As my final color, I'm gonna use this Brisk, which is like a mint matte. And I'm gonna pop that in my inner corners. Oop! Oh, that was intense. Oh, I love a matte pastel inner corner. that's really pretty. I mean, it looks a little bit crazy without any mascara, but I'm really impressed with the mint and the blues. This like lime one, is it a cream to powder? I think it might be a cream to powder, and I don't have any eye primer under my eyes, so that one didn't work super opaque over a powdered concealer. Just so you know, I feel like you might need to like use an eye pencil or something underneath. Oh, I still have that one. Wait, oh my god, the amount of time that I spent looking for this. Oh, that's true, you haven't seen that video yet. I have an upcoming video doing a full face of Sephora brand, or like the Sephora collection, and I'm using this like light green liner, and look at how beautiful that is with this color. Oh, well, you have something to look forward to. Oh, the wind really did a number on my hair, but anyways, here we are. I mean, this whole video has to be a little bit colored by the fact that I don't love pastels on their own. I love pastels as an accent. I love pastels as a companion palette. I think that pastels are the perfect companion palette, and I think that I will get a lot of use out of this palette together with other palettes. I can see this palette being amazing with the Circle Local palette, with the Retro palette. Oh, that would be so pretty. Even with the Trio Chrome palette, that could be so beautiful. On its own, how much will I use this palette? Not much. Not much. And I will say, if you don't own a pastel palette and you don't want to spend $65 getting a pastel palette, I would still recommend the Lost in Los Angeles. Like I said, I will link this down below. Think this is beautiful. The shimmers and the cream to powders are, in my humble opinions, the ones that are really standouts in this palette. The powder matte shadows, they are more on the typical matte side, and I will honestly say that I think the powder pastels in this is better. But I will say also, when you mix the cream to powder and layer that powder on top, they become almost like a fluorescent pastel, like super bright, super pretty. I like them. Am I in love? No. Did I think I was gonna be in love? No, because it is a pastel palette. I bought this one because I love Natasha Denona. I have almost every Natasha Denona palette out there. I definitely have all of them with the colors in there, because I really do love the formula, and I'm happy I have it. But I don't think you need to be running out to get this one unless you are dying to get a pastel palette and you, for some reason, wanted these shades instead of the Lost in Los Angeles. I think the powder matte formula in this one is actually more pigmented and a little bit more easier to work with than in this. But if you're more into pastel shimmers, I think that these have more interesting pastel shimmers, and the cream to powder formula in this one just makes it very versatile if you want to have this super opaque pastel look. So these are my opinions after using it twice. Per usual, I will of course come back in about a month after I've been trying it a little bit more on its own together with other palettes, and I will rank it in my monthly rankings. If you missed my monthly ranking from this month, it's actually the video that was up before this. I took a little break in my monthly rankings due to me moving across the world and trying to get situated here, but it's back. My monthly rankings are back. I know a lot of you really enjoy those videos, so if you missed it, that was the video before this one. Anyways, I hope you're having an amazing day. I hope you're able to enjoy the sunshine as I was today, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you again tomorrow for a new video. Bye!